Now into the health sector still, as the countdown to the UNAIDS target of ending HIV by 2030 intensifies, activities warn that the persistent funding gap threatens decades of progress in treatment and prevention. UNAIDS estimates that between 2025 and 2029, the world could face 6.6 million new infections and over 4.2 million AIDS-related deaths.
One who is interested in ending AIDS must have what we call HIV action integrity, obwerufu integrity.
Despite progress in reducing new infections and AIDS-related deaths, prevention efforts are still falling short, with significant gaps in access to life-saving tools and services. The Executive Director of the Joint United Nations Programme on HIV/AIDS UNAIDS, Engineer Winnie Byanyima, says the struggle to end HIV is still hit hard by funding gap, poor access to the life-saving treatment, and above all, continued stigma and discrimination.
Today we are in crisis, with the largest and most generous contributor to the global HIV response pulling back with the closure of USAID and the reduction of PEPFAR. Women across this region and in other regions have lost access to critical medicines, lost their jobs as community service providers.
Byanyima, however, says the war is not yet lost, citing the international community of women living with HIV body, saying such activists are a great milestone to end HIV.
ICW East Africa, you are on the ground in communities. I find you there. You are in the courtrooms. We see you there. You are in the corridors of power. You're ensuring that women living with HIV are heard.
The founding member of the International Community of Women Living with HIV East Africa and convener of the East African Fierce Awards, Lilian Moreko, says the 20 years of ICW East Africa have been characterized by both high and low moments for women and girls living with HIV/AIDS.
Actually, HIV is about to go. As women, we are committed to ending AIDS by 2030 because we have the tools, we have the resources, we have the expertise, and we are motivated to do that. All we need is everybody to join us.
The outspoken HIV/AIDS activist and director of Health and Community Outreach in Operation Wealth Creation, retired Major Rubaramira Ruranga, is not impressed with the current HIV prevalence among the youth population.
So disappointed because I think Uganda was one of the first countries in this world to open up about HIV. The president went all over the country and tried to warn people about HIV. And many programs were set. The Uganda AIDS Commission was born, but up to now, the numbers of people living with HIV and AIDS is still almost the same after 40 years.
A member of ICW East Africa and Executive Director Mama Club Uganda, Dr. Lydia Mungerera, says the journey to combat HIV/AIDS has been long and full of successes.
20 years down the road, we are celebrating 20 years today, International Community of Women Living with HIV and in Eastern Africa. And I think we have moved a long journey because there were many years ago when many of us thought that we would not survive this virus.
Too many HIV activists, shrinking advocacy spaces for some key populations, and unfavorable legal and policy environment have continued to weaken prevention efforts.
So we may be not winning all the battles, but we are pushing the enemy. I think the battle fronts are moving in our favor. It is true that we still have pockets of flares of infections. Young people especially, many of them who never saw people with AIDS, and the messaging needs to keep changing. Remember, we used to put billboards, now we have to go on social media.
There has been a lot of stigma and discrimination, especially on me, And I was almost, I can claim that I was the first teacher to come out as a person living with HIV. And as a woman, I immediately joined Icwea. So it has been a tough journey with lots and lots of stigma. I remember a time when I was removed from the payroll of the teachers. I was denied the opportunity to work as a teacher.
Access to treatment. We have 200,000 people. They are positive, they are not in treatment. Where are they? Why are they not on treatment? What is happening to their life? And there's those who are on treatment because of the stigma and the discrimination that still exists. They cannot adhere on treatment. So,
speaking at the occasion, a celebrated HIV activist and the executive director at the Global Network of People Living with HIV, Florence Riako, applauded ICW East Africa for being part of the champions to streamline HIV policies and encouraged HIV/AIDS activists to reinvigorate the people living with HIV to protect the hard-won achievements.
From pioneering advocacy for access to antiretroviral treatment, which was the biggest issue at the time, to championing for policies that protect the rights of women living with HIV, you have reshaped the landscape of health and equity in East Africa.
The head of HIV Prevention Department at the Uganda AIDS Commission, Dr. Daniel Byamukama, congratulated ICW East Africa for attaining the 20th mark in HIV prevention and advocacy.
That out of the many organizations, you stand out as a star. You are always in the room. The room is not complete without ICWEA. Their method of work are quite impactful. They seek to influence the agenda. They will even go an extra mile to propose that they will fund the meeting so that they can influence the agenda. So their method of work are quite impactful.
Justice. In 3, 2, 1. Congratulations. Hey, now become a musician.